Hello everyone and welcome to this interview with Future Net Zero. Today we're talking with Devon Tree Service and I'm joined by Simon. So hello Simon, how are you?
Yeah, hi Johnny, yeah, very good, thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. And could you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what your company does?
Yeah, no problem. So my name's Simon Putt. I'm the director of Devon Tree Services. We are a arboricultural tree management company offering all kinds of tree services in the southwest. So we can remove trees, we can prune trees, we can undertake inspections. We offer a consultancy service to undertake inspection on trees as well to advise on their condition. So yeah, we cover the southwest area, based in just outside Newton Abbot.
Perfect. Sounds like you've got a close relationship with the environment already, being so embedded in nature every day. But yeah. I know that you just recently started your net zero journey with the help of balanced energy. Could you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, that's right. So I met Ashley, which opened up discussions about our net zero, and it was always a subject that I've come across, but not fully understood. So Ashley approached us and basically gave us the foundation, the framework for a plan on how we can actually go about achieving it.
And what triggered that for you at first? Because I'm not sure if net zero is something you'd thought about a great deal, but in the area you operate, were you hearing other businesses or the council kind of putting pressure on companies to start thinking about this? What was the real starting point?
Yeah, so it's becoming more and more obvious that certain fuels are unsustainable. There was a lot of we've got one of our primary contracts is with Exeter City Council, and they've got a very, very ambitious plan to be net zero by 2030. I was also seeing in contracts that we were going for, tenders that we were wanting to win with regards to tree surgery and tree inspection, that question about the environment and what you're doing for the environment was being asked more and more. Now, for me, I could answer that question, but I never really fully understood the question. I never really fully understood the impacts that my business was having. So yeah, that was a real trigger for me. I started to see it more and more come up in the questions for tenders, Exeter with their ambitious plan, and we wanted to meet and support Exeter and be aligned with their thinking. So it really that was the key trigger for us, really, in terms when Ashley approached us. It seemed like very good timing.
And what are the main environmental impacts of your business that you're having to think about now? I wouldn't know, to be honest. I don't know that much about tree surgery. I don't know whether that's transport emissions or where does most of your impacts derive from?
It's transport emissions, so diesel. 93% of our carbon footprint is the diesel element of the of our transport of our vehicles moving in around Devon. So that is the largest footprint there.
The first thing you have to do, I suppose, is identify where your emissions are and where your existing footprint is. How did you realize that where your emissions lay? Was that Balanced Energy helping you work out kind of where you stood?
Yeah, that was working with Ashley at Balanced Energy. He came through, met us at our site office, took a detailed analysis, inventory of our fleet, all the different vehicles we use. We looked at the mileage that each vehicle used, the age of the vehicle, and yeah, it was quite detailed data and inventory to try and record all those, all the mileage that each vehicle was undertaking and the amount of fuel we were using on an annual basis. So that was a very good bit of work that we undertook to try and come to that final figure to really understand what the diesel emissions were and the impact they were having.
And I imagine that probably would have been quite difficult to do just by yourself. I think partners are quite important in this journey.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And it's not something we could really achieve easily with the help of partnering up with Balanced Energy.
And how hard was it to become more sustainable once you realized where you were and Ashley had helped you kind of do that assessment? How hard was it to cut your emissions? Was it harder than you thought or easier than you thought maybe?
It's a good starting point when we first went through the report, but the first easy win for us was the renewable energy contract, which Ashley and Balanced Energy got us moved across to 100% renewable energy contract, which knocked, I think, about 3,000 kilograms off our annual footprint. So that was an easy win there. And I think moving forward, there will be challenges. But at first, when we saw the report and through discussions, yeah, it was quite intimidating. But after sitting down with Ashley and doing the research, there are viable options to significantly reduce our carbon footprint moving forward in the short to medium term.
So how useful was the Future Net Zero standard, which is powered by Carbon Expert, in helping you get that first picture of where you were in terms of emissions?
Yeah, it was very useful. When Ashley and Balance Energy supplied it to us, it was a very comprehensive spreadsheet, which enabled us to find that information. Some of that information wasn't readily available, obviously, because this is the first year that we've been undertaken, but it's given us very good scope to be able to monitor what we need for the upcoming years. So we've got a fully comprehensive database of what we need.
Perfect. And what are some of your longer term plans to decarbonise now? Have you already switched to electric vehicles, or is that happening?
So electric vehicles will be something that we keep an eye on. We look to renew as and when we can. It's quite difficult for our industry to have that size of vehicle at the moment. So that's more going to be of a more medium to long term plan. The smaller wins can be renewing the tools that we use. So we're introducing electric chainsaws. We'll be reviewing other tools that can be used which are electric. Once we're in a position with our premises, we're going to be looking into solar panels to power our yard primarily. And the big one will be looking into biodiesel, so HVO. And the availability of that and how it can be used within our existing fleet, because that will have a huge impact on the reduction of our carbon footprint.
Yeah, I think it's very impressive that you've managed to do this, because a lot of people think about tackling climate change as something that happens on the level of government, and it might also happen on the level of massive companies like Apple or Google or something like that. But what would you say to people who think that going net zero and cutting emissions is just for big corporates?
I'd say there's a responsibility on all of us. There's a climate crisis, and it's something that we all need to do. If you think of the size of our overall carbon footprint for a smaller company, it's huge. It's huge what we're putting out. And I think it's nothing to be scared of. I think once you get in with the right partner, up with the right people, getting the right advice, it isn't something to be scared of, because it's something that we're going to have to all approach together, regardless of the business size, regardless of what you're doing. And I think it's something that's going to come more and more in the short term. It's going to become more and more relevant, and something that we're going to have to be doing in the next 5 to 10 years anyway.
And as you mentioned already, it's not just environmental impacts, are there? There's also kind of the way your business is perceived, and even economic advantages in terms of contract.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to become more and more relevant in larger companies. We work for quite a few local authorities, and I think the great thing about this is what it's done for our reputation with other local authorities. Because once we start circulating this out, we've had initial conversation, and it's been really, really welcomed by our existing clients and potentially new clients who like our approach to this, to what we're doing.
Perfect. And finally, I was just wondering, is the rest of your value chain and network interested, do you think, in this? So the other businesses that kind of you buy materials off maybe, or that you're working with, do you think this interest is growing, or are you just at the moment, out of the businesses you work with, are you the only one making these moves?
As far as we're aware, we're the only one making these moves at the moment. It's going to be something that we're going to be exploring in our own supply chain. But it's also, we've made some great moves with local big businesses in terms of partnering up with them. People that we supply our services to are really interested now in reaching net zero, and trying to achieve the same goals that we are, trying to match what we're trying to achieve. And they like our ambition and what we want to try and achieve, and they want to mirror that as well. So it has opened up a lot of new doors for us.